There is something sitting in your kitchen right now that your grandmother knew about. Something so ordinary, so simple that you walk past it every single day without thinking twice. And yet, for thousands of years, Jewish families have used it as one of the most powerful tools for attracting and protecting wealth. Tonight, I am going to tell you exactly what it is, what it means, and what to do with it before you go to sleep. Because what I am about to share with you is not a superstition. It is ancient wisdom rooted in Torah, practiced by generations of Jewish families who understood something about money that most people have never been taught. I want you to think about something for a moment. Think about the people in your life who work the hardest. The ones who wake up early, go to bed late, sacrifice weekends, skip vacations. Good people, honest people, people who deserve every good thing that life has to offer. And yet somehow, no matter how hard they work, the money never seems to stay. Bills pile up. Unexpected expenses appear out of nowhere. The bank account goes up a little, then drops again. It feels like running on a treadmill, moving constantly but never actually getting anywhere. Maybe you have experienced this yourself. Maybe you have lain awake at 3 o'clock in the morning staring at the ceiling doing the math in your head and realizing the math does not work. Maybe you have felt that quiet shame that comes when you cannot do for your family what you want to do for them. That feeling of being so close and yet so far. I have seen this happen to so many good people. And what breaks me heart is not the struggle itself. Struggle is part of life. What breaks my heart is that most of these people are struggling in ways that could be hanged. Not because they need to work harder, not because they need a better job or a lucky break, but because there are things they were never taught. Principles, practices, rituals that have protected Jewish families and their wealth for over 3,000 years. Things that were passed down quietly around Shabbatables from mothers to daughters, from fathers to sons, things that were never written in any book that you could find at a regular library. Let me give you a contrast. Think about the history of the Jewish people, that we have been expelled from countries. We have lost everything more than once in more ways than I can describe in a single sitting. And yet, generation after generation, Jewish families rebuilt. Not because we are smarter, not because we are luckier, but because we carry something with us that cannot be taken away. We carry wisdom. We carry practice. We carry ritual. And today I am going to share with you 3 of the most powerful pieces of that wisdom, including the ritual with salt that I want you to do tonight before you close your eyes, because some things cannot wait. Let me start with something that happened in my own family. My grandmother, may her memory be a blessing, came to this country with almost nothing. She had left behind a life, a home, a community. She arrived with 2 suitcases and 3 children, and a husband who was still learning the language. They rented 2 small rooms in a neighborhood where everyone was poor and everyone was struggling. And yet from the very first week, my grandmother did something that her neighbors thought was strange. Every Friday afternoon before sundown, she would clean every corner of those 2 rooms. Not just sweep, deep clean. She would scrub the floor near the front door on her hands and knees. She would wipe the windowsills. She would make sure that every entry point to the home was clean and clear, and she would put a small dish of salt near the front door. Her neighbors would laugh, sometimes gently, sometimes not so gently. They would say, "What does cleaning have to do with money? You need a better job. You need connections. You need luck." But my grandmother would just smile and keep scrubbing. Within 5 years, she and my grandfather had saved enough to rent a small shop. Within 10 years, they owned it. Within 20 years, their children were educated, and their grandchildren had opportunities that no one in those 2 small rooms could have imagined. Now, I am not telling you this story, Tosi, that scrubbing floors makes you rich. What I am telling you is that my grandmother understood something very deep. Something that comes directly from our tradition. In the Talmud, in Tract Baba Metzia, there is a teaching that says the divine presence, what we call the Shekhinah, not rest in a place of sadness, of disorder, or of filth. The Shekhinah rests in a place of joy, of order, of intentional living. And my grandmother knew that if you want blessing to enter your home, you have to prepare your home to receive it. You cannot invite a guest and leave the door blocked with garbage. You cannot ask for abundance and live in the energy of neglect. This is the first principle I want you to take with you. Before you ask for more, honor what you already have. In Hebrew, we call this the concept afaknasa or kim, which means welcoming guests, but it extends to welcoming blessing into your space. Look at your home today, not at what is missing. Look at what is there. And ask yourself honestly, have I honored this space? Have I made it ready to receive? The practical application is this. Before you do any ritual for wealth, before you say any prayer for prosperity, clean the entrance of your home, the front door, the doorway, the threshold. This is where blessing enters or does not enter. Sweep it, wipe it, remove anything that is blocking it. And as you do it, say out loud, I am preparing my home to receive. I am making space for what is coming. Because your home is a vessel and a vessel must be cleaned to hold something precious. But this is only the beginning. The second thing I need to tell you is even more important, and it is something that most people completely misunderstand about wealth. There is a story in the Talmud in tract about a man named Shoni Hamagal, Konai's circle drawer. He was known for his direct relationship with heaven. One year there was a terrible drought. The people were suffering. Crops were failing. Families were hungry. And Shoni went out to the field, drew a circle in the dirt, stood inside it, and declared to God, I will not move from this circle until you send rain. Not just a little rain. Enough rain for the trees, for the seasons, for the deep places of the earth, and rain came, because it was an extraordinary moment. But what strikes me every time I read this story is not the miracle itself. It is the circle. Shoni drew a boundary. He'd find the space of his faith. He said, this is where I stand. This is what I am asking for, and I am not moving until it comes. Most people never draw their circle. They pray vaguely. They hope generally. They want better without defining what better means. They scatter their attention and their intention in 100 directions, and then they wonder why nothing seems to land. In our tradition, there is a concept called kavana, which means intention, direction, focused attention. When you perform any act, whether it is prayer or a ritual or even an act of generosity, it must be done with kavana. Without kavana, the act is an empty shell. With kavana, even the smallest act carries weight in the heavens. This is why so many people try rituals and say they do not work. They go through the motions, they do the thing they were told to do, but their mind is somewhere else. They are thinking about dinner or about something that happened at work, and they wonder why nothing changed. The ritual is not magic. The ritual is a vehicle for your focused intention. The ritual gives your body something to do so your soul can be fully present. Here is the practical application. Starting today, I want you to practice what I call the 32 declaration. Every morning before you do anything else, before you look at your phone, before you speak to anyone, you stand still for 30 seconds. You close your eyes. You draw your circle. You say clearly, either out loud or in your heart, what you're asking for. Not a wish, a declaration. Not maybe, not I hope, nobody would like, a declaration. This is what I am building. This is the direction I am moving. This is where I stand. And I am not moving from this circle. Do this every single day. 30 seconds with full kavana and watch what begins to shift. Now I need you to stay with me for this next part, because what I am about to share with you is the heart of everything. This is the part that most people never hear. This is what changes everything. Let me talk about salt. Real salt. The kind you have in your kitchen right now. Salt has been sacred in Jewish tradition since the very beginning. When the temple stood in Jerusalem, every sacrifice was salted. Not some of them, every single one. The Torah commands this explicitly in Leviticus 2:13. You shall not let the salt of the covenant with your God be missing from your grain offerings. The salt of the covenant. Think about those words. Saltus, not seasoning in this context. Saltus, the symbol of the covenant between God and the Jewish people. It is the symbol of an agreement that does not expire, that does not rot, that endures. Why salt? Because salt preserves. In a world before refrigeration, salt was what kept things from decaying. It was protection against loss. It was the difference between having something and losing it. And our sages understood Tsun, a much deeper level. Salt preserves not just food but blessing. It seals what has been given so that it cannot be taken away. In Kabbalah, in the Zohar, salt is associated with the attribute Afka, which is strength, discernment, the divine power of protection. When you place salt intentionally with kavana, you are invoking that protective force. You are saying, what enters my home? What enters my hands? Let it stay. Let it be sealed. Let it not slip away. Now, here is the ritual I want you to do tonight, and I want you to do it with complete attention, not casually, not ace an experiment, with real kavana, with real intention. Take a small amount of coarse salt, not iodized table salt if you can avoid it. Coarse salt, sea salt, kosher salt, the kind with texture and weight. Take a small handful and go to your wallet, your purse, wherever you keep your money. Open it fully. Look at what is inside. And before you place the salt, I want you to say, and you can say this quietly. You can say it in whatever language feels closest to your heart, but say it. Say, what I have, I honor. What is coming, I welcome. May this salt seal the blessing and protect what has been given to me. Now take a small pinch off that salt, wrap it in a small piece of cloth or paper, and place it inside your wallet in a pocket in a fold somewhere where it can sit undisturbed. And take the remaining salt and place a small dish of it near the entrance of your home, near the front door at the threshold, because the threshold is where the outside world meets your home. It is the line between the general and the personal, and salt at the threshold is a declaration that what crosses into your home comes in as blessing, not as burden. But I need you to understand something deeply. The salt does not do anything by itself. The salt is not magic. The salt is a physical act that makes your intention real. That gives your prayer a body that says to heaven and to your own soul, I am serious. I am ready. I am not just wishing. I am acting. This is the difference between a person who wants wealth and a person who is prepared for wealth. And in our tradition, preparation is everything. The Talmud in Tractate Megillah teaches that one who prepares on the eve of Shabbat will eat on Shabbat. This is not just about food. It is about the entire posture of your life. Are you preparing? Are you making yourself ready? Because blessing looks for a prepared vessel. It does not force itself into a life that has no room for it. Now, here is what I want you to understand about all three of these things together, because they're not separate. They are three parts of one truth. When you clean your entrance and prepare your home, you are saying, I believe something is coming, I am making room for it. When you practice your daily declaration with kavanah, you are saying, I know what I am asking for, and I am not wavering. When you place the salt in your wallet and at your door, you are saying, I am ready to receive, and I am asking for protection on what I receive. Together, these three acts create something that our tradition calls a res hut, a domain, a defined space where blessing can live, where it can grow, where it cannot be easily scattered or stolen or lost. And here is what I know about you. You do not find yourself watching this by accident. That is not how these things work. Something brought you here. Something in you is already reaching, and what I want you to hear right now, not as encouragement, but as a true statement, is this. Your season of difficulty has been preparation. Every time you struggled and still kept going, you are being shaped into someone who can hold more. Every time you lost something and still found a reason to try again, you are demonstrating the kind of soul that blessing is drawn to. You were not being punished. You were being prepared. And now you have something that you did not have an hour ago. Not because I gave it to you, but because you came ready to receive it. You sat here, and you listened not with the part of you that is skeptical and tired, but with the part of you that still believes. That part of you, that believing part, that is your greatest asset. Guard it, feed it, honor it, because that is the part that makes everything else possible. In Proverbs 3:9, it says, honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. This means before you spend, before you worry, before you count and recount what you have, honor first. Express gratitude first. Acknowledge the source first. When you do that, the verse continues, your barns will be filled with plenty. This is not a metaphor. This is an instruction, and it is as true today as it was the day it was written. I want to leave you with one more thing. There is a blessing in our tradition that we say when we see something beautiful or extraordinary in the world. We say, blessed are you, who has such things in your world. It is a blessing for witnessing something wonderful. And I want you to think of that blessing tonight. When you do this ritual, when you prepare your wallet and your threshold, I want you to say that not out of obligation, out of genuine wonder, Out of the recognition that you live in a world where something as simple as salt can be holy, where something as ordinary as a clean doorway can be an act of faith, where you with your hands and your intention can participate in something much larger. Larger than yourself. That is the real secret, not the salt, not the ritual, but the understanding that you are not separate from the forces offblessing in this world. You are part of them. And when you act like it, when you move like someone who knows they belong to a covenant of abundance, the world responds accordingly.